corporate houses globally as well. The title goes as a Dare to Lead, because he himself is a daring personality, have done taken daring steps in transforming institutions, especially public sector institutions, where it becomes very difficult to disrupt the systems and the policies which are already in place for some leadership styles which might differ from what we possess. So the book has become a national bestseller, and in the meantime, in last 10 years of this scholarship, it has been referred, and Dr. Khandelwal has realized that it needs to be fine-tuned, it needs to be reoriented, especially in the context when leadership is being considered as an essential for the corporate governance operating system. So here is the book, friends. You can see it is in my hand, and I'm lucky to have a signed copy of this book from Dr. Khandelwal. I have a signed copy of the previous edition as well. So I was lucky on both the occasions, and I look forward. The third edition is also will also be received with his auspicious signatures. The book is available on Amazon. You just type Dare to Lead by Dr. Anil Khandelwal. You will find it. I'm not asking you to buy, but if you are really a student of leadership and corporate governance, I'm sure it is value for money, and it's a worth read. I thought of inviting him, and he kindly consented. He's delivering discourses on this book mixed with his other experiences on various platforms. So he kindly consented, to have a dialogue for the benefit of you all. If I briefly introduce, I'm sure he's a known name. He doesn't need introduction, and me introducing him will be short, but he has started his career in bank as a faculty, precisely a person who has always advocated for the importance of human capital. He realized that in his journey of career, he should take a deep dive, and chose to undergo a PhD program from IIM Ahmedabad, and he successfully graduated that. But in due course, the learnings were so high and intense that he was quickly spotted by the top leadership of the nation to chair two banks. So Dena Bank and Bank of Baroda are the two key institutions he has led, and the examples, systems, policies, mechanisms on leadership and governance has been set in a manner that is still being followed. Normally what happens, I'm sure you will appreciate this aspect, we make some changes, but they might take a U-turn once the leadership changes, because the system do not consume such changes in a fundamental way. But the changes which he has brought in, the manner he has changed the philosophy and culture of the organization, the manner he shifted the focus from monetary rewards to rewarding the human capital while recognizing it at the same time, and also devising ways of efficient usage so that the institution could be developed, is something which is commendable. I won't speak more about him. I'm sure let the dialogues, it's not just my dialogue with him. I believe that there should be a stronger dialogue rather from your side with him. Rarest of the rare are the chances when we get such an opportunity to have a dialogue with such a learned person. So warm welcome to you, sir. And with your permission, we can start this dialogue. But after reading this, and especially the foreword, which was written by Peter Capelli, one of the renowned global professor and thought leader, the question which came to my mind relates to what I'm sure you must have consciously written a number of learnings and experiences in your first edition. So what jolted you from the changing ecosystem and times that made you work so hard even post retirement? I could see you are sitting in your library amidst books, So I'm sure you must have spent a year or rather more and just guessing in revising this, rethinking about each and every word written, chapter written. And I could see, because I was comparing both the editions, I could see additions of some new chapters. I don't want to unfold them, better it should come from you. So, what were the major triggers or tractions which come on way, which put you to such a hard work again? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta, for a very elaborate introduction, which I appreciate. First of all, my profound apologies for starting late. Knowing Dr. Gupta, there must have been some very, very unavoidable circumstances, not worth mentioning, that we started late. But my heart was with you when you were, keen to start. That's right. So I'm very happy, Dr. Gupta, that uh, in some ways you have introduced my book. Uh, uh, Let me give a little introduction of mine, which is that beyond Dr. Gupta's mention, that um I, I have never studied leadership in any management institute in India or abroad, first of all. I'm a self taught leader. And I strongly contend that our school of leadership is our early upbringing, socialization process, our teachers, as well as a school of life and organizations. That is the place we learn leadership lessons. Now, Dr. Gupta has asked me that why did I revise the book and what are the motivations for revising the book? Couple of. Normally what happens that when you head an organization, some people say there is an atom bomb theory that when you leave, the bomb explodes. And then everything that you have done gets reversed and new person comes, he does in his own manner, and we remain in a mode of oscillation, sometimes high, sometimes low, more in public sector, where the tenures are small, there is a government control, and there are a high degree of unionization and all those things. So this oscillation of leadership has been a problem. But if you look at my bank, Bank of Baroda, in last 15 years, it has only been on ascent. It has been rising so much so that since last couple of years, it is only next to State Bank of India. So what is it that leaders do or can do? What is it that the board and governance can contribute that organizations achieve stability of performance, they develop reputation, they are in alignment with disruption, that they are able to adjust to the disruptions of technology and other kind of disruption, they are able to adjust to the regulatory changes. What is it? And I think the key thing is the leader's main role is to strengthen the roots of the organization. As you see that a tree develops much faster, and botanists will tell you about this, that how the root system of the tree helps in developing and growing it into a big tree. Likewise, in organizations, this happens. Now, today's topic is leadership and governance. Are they same? Are they different? What is our notion of governance and what is our notion of leadership? Now, I would like to first clarify that, because most of you are independent directors or would be independent directors. And therefore, I will start with first question first as to what is governance all about. Because in the corporate sense, we have very limited notion of governance. That there is a board and there is a compliance and there is an agenda item and there is a job to be performed, and that is governance. Well, that is also governance, but that is a governance that does not build organizations on a long journey of sustenance. The basic governance involves certain principles. First of all, we should understand what are those principles. The basic principles of governance are rule of law, transparency, responsiveness, equity and inclusiveness, accountability, effectiveness, and efficiency. So my question to independent directors are, do our board or are our board focusing specifically on some of these dimensions? Question number one. I'll come little later. Then the second dimension is that if the governance is all about setting the architecture of certain principles and in some ways monitoring that, the role of leadership is that it is an instrumentality for ensuring that those principles and larger vision of governance is actually implemented or happening on the ground. And in that sense, I personally consider governance and leadership two sides of the same coin. If there is no proper governance, obviously leadership is handicapped. For example, when we say no proper governance means that in the corporate sense, if the board is not committed to certain vision, if the board is not pursuing certain purpose, the leadership then, despite all the competence, will have a tunnel vision. It cannot grow beyond that. It will only provide issues of compliance and issues of, whatever is the most important for regulators. But if the governance system is such that it is focused on issues which are beyond quarter to quarter results. Now, what are those issues? Fundamentally, the role of the board in maintaining governance are threefold. The one is results. The one is creating an architecture that the system functions, create profits and results to serve the shareholders, to maintain regulatory expectation. This is one role, but this is only one role. The second role of the board is to create long-term value for their corporation. And this long-term value of the corporation is created by certain long-term measures, what I call rooting the system, creating roots, watering the roots. And those are ensuring quality leadership, ensuring quality management, ensuring a particular kind of culture, a culture that facilitates service, that facilitates goal achievements, that facilitates responsiveness, that creates an enabling environment for employees and managers to contribute their best. Now, to many die-hard technocrats, they may look very esoteric things. What is this all about? This all about is to focus on what I call intangibles: the culture, the human resource, the building of leadership, technology. Now, today, if you find in board agenda items, they don't constitute, according to many researches done, more than 5 to 10%. You look at your respective board's agenda items, running into several agenda items, all focusing mostly on compliance and immediate business, barring some exceptions. I don't say all are doing it, barring some exceptions. So, the first purpose of board governance is the results, financial results, short-term performance, because markets values you on that. Shareholders expect certain degree of growth and development. Granted. The second is that year after year you are able to improve profitability. Year after year you are able to build the organization. Year after year you have strengthened the organization in a manner that it can absorb shocks. It is adaptable. It can contribute to future. It is competition fit, it is vision fit, it is culture fit, it is leadership fit, it is human resource fit. That's the real thing for the boards. The second thing, as I'm saying, building these intangibles. Now ask a question. How many times in the board an agenda item comes on human resources, the quality of it, how they want to build it, what will be challenges after 5 years? Do you have the succession plan for at least top 10 people? Do you have succession plan for critical profit producing functions? Now, these are the kind of things that board should now be moving alongside the immediate concern. What I can say, that the value creation for future, because this will build the health of the institution. One is result, second thing is health of the institution, that it survives. Now the third objective of governance and leadership are holding on to certain values. That was value creation. The third one is holding on to certain values. What are those values? The values are, some of them are now included in that ESG framework. The value for equity, gender diversity, inclusiveness, and long-term sustenance, commitment to community, climate. It's catching up. In fact, world over today, investors are looking at corporations in terms of their achievements or initiatives in terms of ESG framework, which is environment, social, governance. I'm sure that most of you have read about it, gone about it in deeper, and the companies that you are there, at least the large corporations, you are concerned about ESG. I would strongly recommend that those of you who want to know more about this, there is a book currently I am reading, Net Positive. This is the book by Paul Polman and Andrew Winston. Paul Polman is former Unilever chairman who pioneered the concept of sustainability and demonstrated how Unilever has done it. And his co-author, Winston, is a czar in this field who has been propagating this idea. I think I'm benefiting a lot reading this book currently. And it will be very desirable by the board members to understand these concepts, because then they can participate in their board meetings very functionally. So, three objectives: result orientation, short term as well as yearly. Second, long term value creation through intangibles. And third one is values towards commitment to society, immediate community, environment, climate, gender inclusivity, plus, 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 plus. This is the broad spectrum governance framework today. So it's not merely compliance. This compliance, I'm afraid, mere focus on compliance every year shows that there is no culture of compliance. Every year we are talking the same thing. Every year we seem to be making the same errors and mistakes. And every year regulators seem to be adding on the piles of compliance. If there was a culture of compliance, and therefore a challenge for the board is, how do we develop a culture of compliance in the senior management and middle management, that every time board's precious time is not taken on compliance, compliance, compliance. That the board becomes a learning board which is continuously learning and passing on and creating a learning organization where people understand their responsibilities towards some of these things. So, in brief, I thought I'll share with you the basic concept. Now, let us come to the leadership. Leadership, normally, I will first like to share the board leadership itself. There are umpteen research, umpteen number of articles, blogs, which are not very charitable to boards and how boards function. In fact, there is a whole list of jokes internationally, how boards function. I can share, with your permission, one or two jokes. One joke is that the board members are almost are faculty members of a deaf and dumb school, where the board agenda is carried only by either the chairman or the CEO, and others are expected to keep quiet, most of them. Joke only. The other joke going around is that the only time board member opens their mouth is to chew a cashew nut. One of the problems in Indian boards especially is not speaking out, or very rarely speaking out. And that also shows the culture within the board. Not that you cannot speak, not that you are not intelligent, but I think when you dare to speak, the atmospherics in the board are that it's better to keep silent, because you are looked at with some suspicion if you are raising an issue. So, second thing, then there are issues of dynamics, board dynamics and chemistry. The chemistry in the board is that some people join as friends and relatives of the owner or the promoter. And the message is, you are our man. Support us under all circumstances. So the chemistry is when you raise a issue, you are politely snubbed. What is there in this issue? This happens everywhere. Why you are so bothered? Those kind of things. I got a message here that I should share my JM financial experience since it is on my website and newspaper articles have come on it, so it is no secret. I would not like to really elaborate unless most of you are interested, where eventually I resigned. So I would rather not share that. And those who are interested, they can go through on my website, anilkhandelwal.in, www.anilkhandelwal.in. You can go through. The point I want to say is that you have seen, my dear, so many collapse of financial sector industries, whether it was IL&FS, whether it was Yes Bank, whether it was... And there is no dearth of marquee board members. Who is who? Marquee board member. So why do they keep quiet? Why they don't speak up? Do you mean to say that something happens in the organization overnight? No, sir. You get the indication of it well in advance. Well in advance. Our Companies Act provides enough about this that when you find something is going wrong, independent directors can convene a meeting of independent directors only and discuss. It also provides that if you find that something hanky-panky is taking place or has taken place, the independent directors can engage an investigative firm at the cost of the company to get the truth of the matter. I don't think anyone has used some of these powers given to independent directors. The question independent directors have to ask for themselves as to why it is happening. And no wonder today the courts and investigative agencies have started calling the independent directors. I have dozens of examples where independent directors have gone wrong. This is not the forum I should be speaking, nor I have the time at this time. The corporate could have been saved if only some IDs would have spoken when they needed to speak out. So the problem number one is training for speaking out. And this training, nobody will give you training except a deep reflection at personal level as to what is it that holding me to speak on something that is very crucial. What is that fear? I think we got to get over those fears. What is it? Because then you are not questioning individuals, you are discussing a system with a view to help the company, with a view to retain the reputation of the company. As long as your intention is good, as long as you are inspired by the larger goal of helping company maintain its reputation in the market, I think it's very important. So anyway, the point I'm saying is that the governance is always subtle. What is written are main frames, but practice of governance is a subtle exercise. It is a behavioral exercise. It is an exercise in really convincing oneself to play one's role when it is required. So that is, I strongly believe that the tenets of governance we need to follow after we have taken up a independent director's position. Why actually, why independent director, why a director is called independent? Because he's neutral. You may have been invited by a friend's company, but then when you are sitting in the board, you are neutral. In fact, while negotiating your joining a board, this should be part of negotiation that I hope I will have freedom to contribute. That you don't expect me to toe and agree for everything. That I could be wrong, but I can express myself. These are value-laden questions. But then there are people who are seeking boards, and they are willing to, I think, put their personal prestige at stake. They want, because they want to show on their card on how many boards they are there. For some board meeting is a friend of mine who may be on 15 boards. So the other day I phoned him कि भाई बहुत दिन से मिले नहीं है यार, let us meet. कहता नहीं अभी बोर्ड सीजन चल रहा है, मीटिंग का सीजन चल रहा है मीटिंग का. So he's busy. Now, if you are on 15 boards and then in every board you are on 3 committees, so you are on 45. Can you contribute? Then the other friend tells me, Menga, how do you cope all this? He said, कुछ नहीं यार, पढ़ने वाले लोग अलग होते हैं, वो पढ़ के आते हैं, उनको सुनते हैं. In fact, the word he used, if I share with you, it will shake your conscience. He said there are enough idiots in the board who study and come. Can you imagine? Now, these are right or wrong, I don't know. But I think if I have taken up the board, I need to study the company. I need to study its manufacturing process as to how a product is produced. I need to understand the social system of the company. You see, I always looked an organization as a socio-technical system. There is a famous socio-technical system concept by Tavistock Institute in London. The part is that we are too focused on the technical side. We are not focused on the social side. How customers feel, how customers' grievances are handled. Is the organization responsive to customer? How the social system of employees works? How the other system, culture system work, this social system of the organization. In the socio-technical system, the board is too much focused on the technical system. What is happening to figure? What is our ROE? What is our ROC? What is our this? What is fine, very important. But that's only half governance. The other half is the social system of the organization. And that is why the socio-technical system concept becomes very important for me. Let me share with all humility, that when we architected the transformation in my own organization, my colleagues definitely had far greater understanding and exposure to banking that I had. And that gave me an opportunity to focus on social system, and my colleagues overwhelmingly helping me on the technical system. And together, the socio-technical system was run with the result that we had fantastic results. Getting lots question, right? It's very good sign of this. So this now coming back to, I think when we talk role of the board, essentially it will depend on the context. If you are already in a great company, good company, then you have to think more about how it can become greater, still better, a global company. When you are working in a company which is struggling, you have to think about putting it on its firm legs, ensuring that the company does not fall. So, what kind of issues at that point of time are relevant? Companies never fall only on account of the technicals. The technicals, the business is an outcome of the social system. That somewhere the social system is collapsing. The customers are walking out because they feel they are not important here. Or the competitors' strategies are such that they are being enticed by the other corporation. Or the employees are stuck, frustrated, low morale, or they experience lack of fairness within the company, or they experience variety of things. So social system actually contributes to, in a great measure, either to great happy organization or great unhappy organization. Social system is so important, the culture within. So, if you're in a company, now I've seen in some of the companies, the board meeting lasts 1.5 hours. There are only compliance issue and there is one presentation on the business. Nothing else is discussed. The directors are happy, the promoters are happy, but I think this is where the problem starts. Roman. The second is third reason today. There was a time board members were very poorly paid. Today there is so much of generous payment that it requires really guts for a director to raise a question. You go to a company, you get 1 lakh fee. 3 meetings, 75,000 each for meeting, 2,25,000 per. You really require daring to raise issue in such a board. A friend of mine told me, all right, Dr. Khandelwal, but I have to run my kitchen also. Very right. Where generous payments itself has become a problem, although I strongly believe directors should be compensated and nothing wrong. But then, to raise issues in spite of generous compensation and put your directorship at stake when you think it is time is the real stuff of leadership. It's something that you leave a legacy. It's something that will lead to reforms in that company. It is something that you will be, you will not go as unsung hero. And all the people who are in their journey of change and transformation have to undergo this process of disturbing the comfort zone. And for you, where your discomfort zone itself should become comfort zone, that I'm the person, I'm not going to acknowledge or endorse this kind of working, where you find, I'm not saying on every small thing you can raise a banner of dissent, no. But if you find something is terribly wrong, something is against regulation very directly. Like in a company, I found that a non-executive chairman was given through 7 resolution all the executive powers. And when I said how a non-executive chairman can have all executive powers, I was ridiculed by every single board member. I persisted. Then other wrongs took place, then independent directors met, and I decided to quit. Not only quit, report deficit governance to ROC. That is why it became a national news. So those, it's not that I have not lost money. We used to get a commission, we used to get a fatty, compensation. Never mind. Times come in our life when we need to really take a position, a stand to guard the interest of our shareholders, to guard the interest of the company. And that's the role of independent directors. It's a kind of oath with oneself that I'm here to perform a role, not to have my name on a visiting card. So the process of governance and leadership, in some ways, it's like a movie reel which moves simultaneously. It's two sides of the same coin. So board role is to ensure that you have a right leader, you have a right kind of management. These are softer issues which sometimes CEOs don't allow you to know, dear. Now, if you are in a manufacturing organization, how can you take decisions about the company if you have not seen the workplace, the manufacturing place? And I'll give you an example of how do we come to know the social system. I was in a Maharatna company in the gas sector and suggested that let board visit the manufacturing plant. We visited plant, things were much more clearer to us, much more. Many jargons which were coming in the boardroom were much more clearer to him. But then, when we started talking to people, some of the engineers told us that, sir, if by some good luck or bad luck, I joined manufacturing plant, I cannot look to get away from here. Because every time we are told now you are experienced, stay, and by some luck somebody joined in corporate office, they stay there only. And there is such a feeling, is a feeling of we and they, and that led to our discussion in the board of a proper job rotation between manufacturing and corporate office amongst engineers. So the social system, the field experience, it's very important that the board understands the field. It's very important for the board to understand what kind of complaints are coming from customers. What are they talking about? And this can be done, not that you have to visit all your branches and this and that. No. Insist in the board periodical employee surveys and the customer surveys. What are they talking about it? In one of the board, in the employee survey, a issue came that our organization's promotion policy is very defective, and they gave some examples. It led to a study of promotion policy by us. And we found it was really idiotic promotion policy, where there were some marks for non-promotion. For example, this year I am not promoted. Next year I will be giving marks for non-promotion so that this year I am promoted. Can you imagine what kind of things can happen in a board? So likewise, you can get feel of social system of the organization by insisting certain, what you call surveys. I think there is a lot to talk. I will stop here because We learn from your questions. And your questions are very important. You are all experienced people. As regards my friend Dr. Neeraj Gupta's question, which I have reserved for the last, he asked me, why did I revise my book? My book is a story of transformation. And all the pains, thrills, frustrations, humiliations, and still deliverance. There are few new things in this. I got feedback when I must have done dozens of programs in the last 10, 11 years, rather hundreds of programs. And I was getting few feedbacks from the field. One was, sir, after every chapter, how about adding reflection and learning? What can we learn from this chapter? So that I added. Now you have reflections on learning to give you some idea what kind of reflection. So like one of the reflection I mentioned, in a legacy driven culture and deep mistrust, how we get out of it. And based on our real experience, we have mentioned that in a deeply mistrustful culture, you cannot achieve anything by merely dialoguing. You must take some confidence building measures and then engage the dialogue. Likewise, there are several insights after every chapter given in this book. And so one is that each chapter has these kind of insights. The second is, what do we learn from this transformation? There is a new chapter added, 15 insights from transformation. How transformation can succeed. There is a famous article by a Harvard professor, John Cotter, Why Transformation Fails. My entire thing is how transformation succeeds. 15 lessons. That too in a constraint driven organization like public sector. The third thing is whether this transformation is sustained. What happens to bank? In last 15 years back, I retired. So a professor of IIM Bangalore has studied and written an article, Enduring Transformation in a Constrained System. What is it? Those fundamental steps taken by Dr. K that created path of possibilities in Bank of Baroda, that it is growing. It is not that everything I did is there today, no. But others have added more and something different. So creating path of possibilities. And I think that is leader's role. That is the role of the board. That's the role of governance. What is it? That a board where you are a member is remembered 15 years after, that board really seeded this kind of change and transformation in the company that today we are reaping the fruits. I think that's the kind of thing. Then some new episodes I have mentioned, which at that point of time did not occur. I wrote to a lot of my former colleagues that what are those things that you feel I have not covered in this book? So on the basis of that. And lastly, code on leadership. This is the longest chapter, 33 printed pages. What has been my code of leadership? To tell you one code, my leadership style has been tough love, tough on performance, and compassion for people. Neither toughness alone works, nor compassion alone works. And how do you combine the two? And of course, some general editing, I deleted few things which were longish and all that. With all that, and I'm happy to share that I'm very happy because my life's work is there in this. I have written from my heart. To give you a small example, we all talk of credibility. People should have credibility. What is credibility? Saying, doing, gap? For credibility, you have to go to some training program to learn credibility? or to Harvard and Stanford, those Westerners will teach you credibility. No. My mother taught me when I was a child. She was singing a couplet from Ramcharitra Manas every day in the morning. Raghukul Reet Sada Chalai, Pran Jai Par Vachan Na Jai. This particular verse drilled my mind. Raghukul Reet Sada Chalai, Pran Jai Par Vachan Na Jai. It always kept me on toes. Have I promised someone something that I have not fulfilled? This was my credibility lesson at home. I learned from many bosses on the job. I learned from my teachers. And that is why I say leadership and governance takes place in our school of life. In our daily life, we learn from someone something. With this, friends, I will close and open this discussion for
So
questions.
before we open for the questions, like as part of dialogue, I have one or two, if you allow. I understand you have made a very impressive and comprehensive coverage about various aspects which you have covered in this book. And as part of your journey as chairman Bank of Baroda, the experiences which have come out as good insights or learning. What I presume, I mean, allow me to presume that the scholarship of this book, Dare to Lead, encompassing leadership lessons, have larger reflections from your role as chairman of the board. I I remember now on occasions you have mentioned the role the board has, specifically the role which the independent directors have, the chemistry which is expected between the CEO and the board. Now, the point which I want to raise, just excuse me for a specific mention which passed by during the conversations, that as an independent director, you also had to resign being an activist for the misgovernance which was taking place from JM Financials. So, considering this and also mixing it with another fact that public sector organizations get their chairmen and independent directors appointed by appointment committee of cabinet, whereas in private sector organizations, it's always the promoter's choice to staff the board, handpicking the people. And in fact, in spite of all good efforts, we could not have greater traction. You can see from the chat box also the anguish which the independent directors data bank members has, that they don't receive calls, and oftentimes I am contacted by the people. So my question is, being in number one, the private sector companies, even after handpicking the directors, misgoverned and don't find well orchestrated boards, and some of them have to raise the activist voice, is a big a big question which needs to be answered well. Who is more responsible, whether it is the non-performance or suboptimal performance, rather, I would like to say, on the part of independent directors, or the chemistry between the CEO and the directors is not good, or the intent is different. They are on different page. That's why on some good aspects there is no group think. Then another aspect which I would like to ask specifically within the title of the book, the leadership lessons that you are sharing, are they more to be learned by the CEOs, you believe, or they are equally relevant for the CEOs as well as the board members?
Second question first. The leadership principles are universal. The credibility is as important for a public sector board member as for a multinational board member, as for a promoter driven company, or authenticity is as much, or reflective ability. I think they are universal principle. My book only describes the problems in implement. If it was that easy, everyone would have done it. But today world suffers from leadership deficit. Organizations suffer from leadership deficit, right? So what is it? that people in leadership position have to fight out these kind of things successfully and achieve something. So these are universal laws. Each one puts it in a different ways. I have put it, for example, tough love. I have put it that excellence has no Victoria terminus. That excellence lies in breaking your own records. If one film has to be better than the other film of Amitabh Bachchan. So, therefore, principles are same. Now, the first one is, if I've correctly picked up, because it was long, that I think everyone plays a role. The board dynamics now. The point is, whose job is to see that the board dynamics is positive. Principally, I would say, of the person chairing the chairman of the board. But I had an interesting example. A friend of mine told me that this chairman was so talkative all the time. He will talk and narrate his stories when he was collector, when he was this, he was that. He will waste a lot of time of the board. And the board meeting will go right up to 9:30. Now, in my submission, in such boards, some of the directors should get together and give a feedback to chairman. And things must be spoken very clearly and very directly. But then there is always the flip side of it. I am a kind of a quasi researcher who keeps on finding out. I'm not an investigative journalist, by the way, but I'm a quasi researcher who is curious to find out. So I asked, yaar, tum log, why you have not stopped it? So one of the board members told, Saab, chairman appoints committees. If I point out, he will not appoint me in committees and I will lose that much money. Now, very practical consideration. Now, the point is, one must consider the aspects of integrity, ethics, and personal ethics. Up to what level I would be pragmatist? To what level I'm willing to sacrifice? I think if all board members have a consensus, or at least half of them, no chairman can waste time. Similarly, there are board members who are disruptors. They keep on telling a story, or they think when I was there, and then some of them are very intelligent, they try to capture the board. Then it is the role of chairman to ensure that no one dominates the board despite their extraordinary knowledge. I think these are very subtle aspects. We cannot write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 do's and don'ts, but definitely a wise board will manage by itself this chemistry. I was on a board where there were 2 promoters and there was a director who was son of the promoter, other promoter. He never opened his mouth. So in the last 1 year, they served the board evaluation formats. And I wrote on that. And I did raise this issue privately with the chairman. I didn't want to embarrass the person. The result was, I'm telling you, after 2 years, the promoter withdrew his son from the board. You must be relentless in what you are convinced about. I think that's me. But I would not recommend for you, because I can live without boards. Since last 3 years, I'm not on any board. Any invitation come, I politely say no. Not to avoid responsibility. But my interests are different. Most people think I'm a banker, so I'm an accountant. So most of people want to put me in audit committee. I say, look here, I have very little interest in finance. My areas of interest are others. So it's very simple what you can do and what you can't do. So most of the problems, Dr. Gupta, are with the self. If we are seeking, we are desperate to become a board member, you have to pay the price. But if you are competent, where people seek you, you can negotiate.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So
I
let's
don't know
move to the
whether I've
next.
convinced you or confused you.
No, no, that's fine, sir. If I will be in some confusion, I'll have a one-to-one chat. Let's move to the next session and section, the last section of this today's agenda. The questions from the participants, and I would
Yes, yes.
like
I'm
to
waiting for
mention,
question from
yeah,
participants.
on your behalf, I would like to mention the best questions which will be picked up by Dr. Khandelwal. The participant, the concerned participant will receive a signed copy from his side as he has mentioned to me. So let's raise hands so that I can pick up the questions. And Ashish, can you remove the banner so that I can see more
Please.
faces? Please raise hands.
Oh, let me see the entire group. Oh, I'm really thrilled seeing all of you.
Yeah. Earlier it was bannered, so um, can we have questions, friends? I could see a number of questions in the chat box. I could see
Elena George has raised a hand.
Dr. Satbir Yadav has a question. Ashish, can you
Okay.
help us? Dr. Yadav, please unmute yourself. Dr. Yadav, please unmute.
Yes, I hope I am unmuted now.
Yeah, that's right. Perfect. And I would request everyone to be very specific, sharp, and crisp so that we could accommodate more and more questions.
Sir, my question is only limited to the ESG part.
My
Has-
question?
Is limited to the ESG part,
Okay.
environment, social, and governance. Now, this is considered and something in thing. Do you think this is the only area where the governance has to depend upon or concentrate upon or focus upon and leave aside anything else or everything else?
It is not either or. It is still in infancy and would depend on what kind of corporation you are there. For example, in a smaller organization, this whole and if you are a manufacturing organization, definitely the environment part is important. But if you are in a service organization, you have to find out. Governance is important, social part is important. The social part is the community part and other things. But it is not, Dr. Saab, in terms of that you should forget other things and focus here. You should also start looking at it. I would put it this way.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, please. Good question. Yeah. Where are other questions? So many people have raised hand. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yeah, please. Please raise the question. Start speaking, my dear. I'm not hearing. I think you unmute yourself. Neeraj? Dr. Neeraj? I'm not able to hear you. Someone else should ask a question. He can't unmute. Yeah, someone else should ask a question then. Acha, participant cannot unmute themselves. 1 minute. Let me see. I'm trying to contact the Anyway, I'm helpless in contacting the hosts. So let me read here. With the younger entrepreneurs coming in, do I find a change? I have no idea whether they are making any difference, because I don't sit on boards where youngsters are there. I don't even sit on the boards. What is your own contribution? If you are seeing youngsters, you should share whether they are contributing. I think they may be in their learning phase. What is this investor activism? Somebody has been asking persistently. Why not? I'm for all activism as long as it can improve the functioning of the boards. Next. Yeah, they are disappearing
ask a
very fast.
question,
I see the
please?
question and they are disappearing very fast.
May I
Dr.
ask a
Khandelwal,
question, please, sir?
Dr.
So you please,
Khandelwal,
yeah.
Dr. Khandelwal, I just wanted to know, how do you manage the risk aversion in the banks? Bankers are very indecisive, mainly because of the fear of CVC or CBI. How do you encourage bankers to take decisions?
Yeah, that's a good question. Several things. One is making policies and keeping, please hear me, keeping gray areas over a period of time. All of us are experienced that sometimes policies are ambiguous. Sometimes there is a lack of judgment. Sometimes there is a lack of recording. I give you, because I never talk without an example. Let me give you an example. An investigative agency investigated why a particular loan, which was not sanctioned by the outgoing chairman and the board, they had put some conditions for that. Why after 2 months the same board with new chairman sanctioned and minutes recorded nothing, why they are sanctioning? Tell me, should investigative agency not investigate? So therefore, the best thing is to write, if you are reversing a decision, to write the rationale. If you are overruling a decision from an authority below you, you have right. Write why you are overruling, what are the extenuating circumstances. And I think it's very important to make notings. One of the problems that I have found in banks amongst my colleagues is they are so trained to write okay, I tell you. It comes so naturally. Okay. It reflects power dynamics. Okay. Approved. Done. Hold on to that instinct, especially where your subordinate officer has a different view. You can write why you are disagreeing with him, what are the extenuating circumstances, then no problem will come. Half of the cases I have seen for investigation relate to the note had not recommended why you sanctioned it, because we have not mentioned the reasons. Maybe reasons were there. So one is you can only take care. Sometimes there is no doubt that it is only your bad luck that something happens like a road accident. And in any case, the rate of prosecution, final punishment is only 3% of investigative agencies. It's a torture. But then there are air accident, there are train accident. Do we stop traveling there? But lot of care can be taken, I can tell you. Lot of care can be taken, and in many cases people can, but I can assure you, not taking decision is not an option. Some people reach right up to the top without opening their pen. due to public relations, networking, and playing safe. I think it is a tragedy. They can never lift their organizations. Risk taking is a part of the, it should become risk taking culture, not risk aversion. But definitely there has to be lot of mental math and homework about taking a decision. That why this decision is being taken, although this is against rules. I have generally found appreciation of when a reason is mentioned. That's all I will say. Rest, I do not know. But we have to train our people to take decision.
Next, we can take Narendra Dev Garg. Ashish?
Who?
Mr. Narendra Dev Garg.
Yeah. Good afternoon,
You
sir.
can also tell your organization and name. Yes.
Narendra Garg,
From?
recently retired. Yeah. And
Yeah,
currently working at
Working where?
Jaipur.
No. Which organization?
Footwear manufacturing company, Mavi.
Okay.
Footwear, Mavi
Right.
Private Limited.
Right.
सर माय
बोलिए।
क्वेश्चन इज, जैसा कि अभी मैंने देखा डैशबोर्ड पे भी अधिकतर लोगों का क्वेश्चन था कि जो इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर्स है उसका अपॉइंटमेंट किसी इंडिपेंडेंट एजेंसी को दिया जाना चाहिए, वो ज्यादा रीजनेबल और ज्यादा जस्टिफाई होगा, क्योंकि जहां प्रोमोटर अपॉइंट कर रहा है किसी को, तो जो भी इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर हो उतना इंडिपेंडेंटली डिसीजन ले पाना थोड़ा मुश्किल रहता है।
बिल्कुल लॉजिकल, इट्स वेरी लॉजिकल. देयर आर lot of I should say consensus on this issue. I don't know, it's not for me to do that, but I think someday there are practical difficulties in this, let me tell you, because if you give to an independent agency, lot of delays, lot of things are likely to happen. One, on the negative side. The positive side is that ultimately what you are saying is the right thing to do. Yes, next.
थैंक यू सर।
Yes, please.
Can we
पूछ
have,
साहब, आप हाथ उठा रहे हैं,
can
पूछ
we
नहीं
have
रहे हैं.
Mr. Girish Dave?
हाँ.
Girish, can you unmute yourself, please?
Now I can, because the problem was we did not have the right to,
No
unmute.
problem. Please come on the
Yeah.
question.
Okay, please, now you can ask.
Yes, sir. So it is a very lovely, hearing you out. I am Girish Dave, and I am associated with Reliance Jio. My question is like a lot of tasks that what independent director does are very much, can be done with some kind of machines also. I mean, and those will be, like free from any kind of manipulations, any kind of, and you have the softwares, the technologies like AI, ML, and we are very well doing it. And we can really, add some mathematical checks and balance to it. So what different as a human being we have to do is to bring that, integrity into the whole game, which is basically, very, very uh, objective as well as subjective by both means. Where machines can miss, we have to be, kind of a supervisor of the machines also. So what is your thought from that perspective in parlance of the way the technology is shaping the whole
My
society?
thought, my thought is no different than yours.
Yeah.
That over a period of time, the board should discuss that what is relevant for board to discuss, and other things can be, and this is what AI is now coming. If you don't do it today, it will happen 3 years after. So one could start thinking in that direction. For example, the whole business of compliance, this much of thick stuff on compliance, right?
Absolutely.
So some sort of template or some sort of, and I think the compliance should go much down below in the minds of middle management and senior management groups, Today, compliance, you have to sign as chief executive and CFO and give to RBI or this or that. I think this whole, so compliance has created tunnel vision in our people that don't think in the board beyond compliance. So all this social agenda, human resource agenda, strategic agenda is put. And year after year, the same stuff. That means something is drastically wrong in the company, that there is no culture for it. I think these are the kind of things one should discuss. देखिए अगर रोज ही फ्लड आता है शहर में या रोज हर बार पॉट होल भरने पड़ते हैं, वी हैव टू फाइंड अ सॉल्यूशन टू दैट ना.
Absolutely, sir. Because you know what I have realized in my day-to-day practice is that I use a lot of AI/ML softwares. Even if I get any lengthy email or any lengthy document, I get it scrutinized by first the software, the AI/ML software, which are available on net, and then we put our perspective to it. So it kind of greatly saves the energy. So from independent director perspective, I think like if there are some auditors report, and many independent directors are not competent. Like I am a totally techie guy, but I have done my MBA.
Anyway, others have to ask questions, so I will, pardon me for little cutting short, but I want to comment, Dave साहब, सबसे पहले तो we have to find out whether every board member is computer literate. Now, computer literate in the sense, not merely sending an email. For example, I do not qualify to be a board member as of today because I am not literate enough to make tables and to read properly different complexities. I believe me, if I have to join a tech company or I have to join a good company, I do not qualify. So we should know, what we don't know. Learning is the first thing for a board member. What this organization does, how it does, how I can make myself personally effective with the help of computer, AI, or whatever. So your point is very well taken. And every board member has to ensure that in whether he is fit enough to work in modern corporations. I will only
Great,
comment.
sir. Learning
The
is a
next
lifelong
question by
experience, sir.
Miss
Thank you
Sudha
so much.
Ravi. Can you please come in, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Sudha Ravi, can you please unmute yourself, ma'am, and come in with your question? Ma'am, is my voice reaching you? Can you please unmute yourself quickly?
So let us move to someone else.
Mr. Anshuman Tripathi.
Sudha Ravi, I can see now. Yes, please. Yes, please. Sudha ji, boliye.
We can't hear you, ma'am. We can't hear you. You are on mute.
वो कहते हैं अनम्यूट नहीं कर सकते अपने लेवल पे, कुछ कह रहे थे लोग.
No, we have already given rights to the one who said that. They can unmute now. Ma'am, you can unmute. Otherwise, Mr. Anshuman Tripathi, can you please come in? Mr. Tripathi? Okay, no problem. Mr. Girish Chandra Chokse, would you like to come in, sir?
Anyone can start, who just start, so that we don't.
Mr. Girish Chandra Chokse, can you please unmute yourself? I can see he is typing, I believe.
I think there is a problem, doctor.
No, there is no problem, sir. This is a tested system.
But some people are speaking right now.
No, but anybody cannot randomly speak. I cannot.
Anyway, so that he says that the board evaluation is not effective.
Girishji, come in, please.
Yes, sir. Myself, Girish officer. First of all, sir, congratulations and thanks that you have given a very good perspective to independent directors and this thing. It was very nice to hear it from you, sir. And sir, as we are seeing, I was doing on IBC also, I was working. And I was seeing that many things have to be done by directors and many things are to be done. And but then if directors are at the mercy of chairman or owner, how they can work. So I think it is high time that we need to change certain systems, that appointment of director IDs. At the same time, as I was saying, the companies that talks about how can the maximum fees, but there's no minimum fees. And as somebody is rightly pointed out, somebody is saying we are not appointing IDs, we are asking somebody to sign only 5,000 rupees and get signed. I think this needs to be checked, sir.
I don't know. Within the board, you have to set standards. This is also a governance within the board. If many people have said there is so much of work within the board, I think you must meet and discuss whether all this work is required to be done at the board level. I don't know. For example, in some boards, I mean, earlier when I had whole lot of project reports coming, 200 page, 250 page. The whole idea is that we can say tomorrow the board has gone through this.
Gone through.
No, we said we will not read anything unless there is a summary of 5 page on every project report.
That's it.
And in the minutes I got recorded, it was impossible to read project report. And this decision is taken on the basis of what is presented in these 5 pages. If owners play smart, the board has to be smarter.
Well said, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Next
Praveena
question,
here.
please. Yeah, Praveena,
Yeah,
please.
Parveena ji.
I'm independent director with few companies, and now, sir, what I feel is that boards are, independent directors are very, very independent, and we all ask a lot of questions. Sometimes I feel that we really rag the promoters and the CEO and all when it comes to asking questions and asking the details from them. But one thing I still feel which we are still lacking is ESG. ESG consciousness, especially if the company is not listed and if the company is not in top 1000, they feel abhi BRSR. India mein to sir danda hi chalta hai na. So people generally are not conscious of this. So can we have some kind of intervention from MCA or something that consciousness should come towards ESG, sir?
Towards
ESG, sir, sustainability.
ESG. देखिए आप बिल्कुल फैक्ट्स को बता रही हैं, अच्छी चीज है. इसीलिए इतने रेगुलेशन, इतने लिए अब एक दिन रेगुलेशन ये आएगा कितनी बार आपको पानी पीना है बोर्ड में, कितनी बार गिलास को इधर रखना है. तो ये हमें तोता बना दिया गया है. तो एक दिन ये भी आएगा कि ईएसजी पे. अभी मैं आपको बताता हूं कई कंपनीज में ईएसजी के नाम पे क्या हो रहा है. ईएसजी के नाम पे कंपनीज कंसल्टेंट्स को हायर कर रही हैं और कंसल्टेंट्स आर हैविंग वेरी नाइस प्रैक्टिस ऑन ईएसजी. इतनी ब्यूटीफुल रिपोर्ट सबमिट करते हैं, इवन डायरेक्टर्स आर सरप्राइज रीडिंग देम कि अरे हमारी कंपनी में इतना हो रहा है, हमें तो पता ही नहीं. सो वेल मेरा, इफ आई वाज यू, फर्स्ट वी हैव टू स्टडी व्हाट इट इज. My question to you is that how much you know about ESG. You must, currently I'm reading 2-3 books on ESG because with little bit here and there, I'm now going deeper into ESG. I'm also reading annual reports of some of the great companies, HUL, ITC, this and that. What are they writing about it and how much? पहले देखिए, board की learning is very important before you start expecting them and before you intervene. जब उन्हें लगेगा you really know something about it and you are asking right question, मेरे ख्याल में चेंज होगा. अभी तो ये बड़ी नेसेंट स्टेज में है ESG, लेकिन जो चीज परिपक्व है, are we asking question on the quality of management? Are we asking question with regard to the quality of human resources? Are we asking question how the corporation is building leadership? Are we asking question in terms of the responsiveness, customer service and all that? I think you can still little bit keep ESG little bit on the priority down. There are a whole lot of things, and this itself is ESG, social and governance. That's my.
Mr. C.S. Joshi, would you like to come in quickly? Unmute yourself, please. He can't unmute, Ashish. You can unmute, sir. We have given you rights.
बोलिए जिसकी भी आवाज सुनाई में आएगी.
You will have to click the unmute button, sir. We can't unmute you. We can just give you rights. You will have to speak up after clicking the unmute button.
Great, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for taking pains. Sir, it is a very excellent session, and there are a lot of things which we are hearing from.
Will you raise your hand? I can't see who is asking the question.
I'm here, sir.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Yeah. C.S. Joshi, yeah.
You have given us a lot of insights from your experience on a board of different companies. My question is about, in your opinion, what can be done to open the mindset of promoters to bring in a really independent person as directors? Because when we see companies, they either bring in bankers, they bring in bureaucrats, or they bring in fellow friends who are directors of other company or promoters of this thing. You will not find really independent people on board of many companies. So what can be done for such kind of things, sir?
Frankly, I have no answer to this question because it is so fundamental a question. And I'm also struggling to find this question. The only question and the only thing right now I can suggest is be your authentic self. Be a real self. When you sit in the board, you are neither a friend, you are neither a brother-in-law, you are not a sister-in-law. And of course, mother-in-laws are not invited in the board. So, so I would only say, be just your authentic and real self. Be polite, but firm with few things. It is not that all promoters may be like that. It is not that every time they are bungling. No, but wherever you find you need to contribute. If you find there is a serious matter, maybe you meet privately also. But as a well-wisher, and I propose to raise it in the board. Please do not feel embarrassed. So I think it is your, what should I say, a little bit of tact to practice tough love.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tough love. Be your originals. Be your original self. That this is me. This is me. I'm not a commodity which is manipulable. I'm not a commodity which will handhold your wrongs. So for the time being, the ethical side of the independent director is very important. But if you are on a journey of writing your biodatas, that's a different thing. आप में कई लोग मुझे आजकल अपना कार्ड देते हैं और पीछे कंपनियों के लिखे रहते हैं इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर. अरे इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर शुड नॉट मेंशन इवन ऑन द कार्ड. कई लोग तो लिखते हैं फॉर्मर इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर इन सो एंड सो कंपनी बिकॉज पीपल हैव सच नीड टू डेमोन्स्ट्रेट. What I dislike is desperation to become a director. कहीं लग जाए बस डायरेक्टर बन जाए सो दैट बायोडेटा हमारा सुधर जाए. बन जाइए, एक्सपीरियंस लीजिए. वो एक्सपीरियंस अच्छा नहीं है तो क्वाइटली कहीं और मूव कर जाइए. इट्स ए मैटर फॉर सेल्फ टू आस्क द वन सेल्फ. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm almost prescriptive, but believe me, that's how I have operated.
Sir,
Okay, sir.
good evening, sir.
Can I invite Mr. Anshuman Tripathi, please?
Yes,
So
yes,
thank you,
Tripathi ji.
Gupta. I'm on the board of State Bank of
Oh, it's
India.
echoing. Voice is echoing. Voice is echoing.
Is it better?
हाथ उठाइए. कौन 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 बोल रहे हैं?
सर मैं अंशुमान त्रिपाठी बोल रहा हूँ.
अरे मैं हाँ अंशुमन जी बोलिए 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 बोलिए
Sir, I'm a board member of State Bank of India's private equity arm, and it's called SBI Cap Ventures. Sir, my basic question is on blind spots and groupthink. You talked about socio-technical technical systems. Very important point, sir. Technical part तो बहुत अच्छा add हो जाता है. But on the social part, sir, what I'm observing is that in most banks, and you are the right person to answer, is people come in as probationary officers. So they have a specific, very regimented culture through which they have come, and they have a hierarchy in there, these chairmen, the CEO, CTO, and board members. How does an independent board member actually be able to prevail and influence upon them and show them the other side of their blind spots? As a group, they have blind spots, which are apparent to me, and I think that is the appreciable part of bringing in an independent director, that the person knows or looks at it from a different angle. So your advice would be really appreciated, sir.
देखिए बड़ा क्रिटिकल क्वेश्चन है, बड़ा सेंसिटिव क्वेश्चन है.
Sir,
सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम within the board, people are not interested to talk of social system.
yes, sir.
They are technical people, technique driven people.
Yes, sir.
I am very sorry, the problem is within the board social system, not in the corporate social system.
Yes, sir. So how to handle that, sir?
I don't know. The handling is that give some concrete data, meet some people down below, give some feedback, ask for notes on certain issues. It's a relentless struggle, my dear. I am very sorry to tell you.
Yes, sir.
I will not be theoretical to do this. It's a relentlessness.
Yes, sir.
And during terror, if you are able to really arouse some thinking about it, you have done your job.
Right, sir.
Incidentally, I am on the Central Strategic Training Committee of State Bank of India and also on the board of their Leadership Institute.
Ji.
And there we do discuss some of these dimensions.
Yes, sir.
There also my hope is, I wish there is more time. I wish more people are involved. But it's a struggle. So the fact you are on their board means you are such an intelligent guy. The question you have to ask yourself, what strategy? I don't know, meet me privately. We can maybe discuss.
Yes, sir. I'll reach out to you.
Maybe we can discuss.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
But I
Can we
don't
have
have
Mr.
do's and
Harish
don'ts.
Joshi?
And I never work on do's and don'ts. Because then it becomes a doctor's prescription. कि साहब ये ले लो. वो हर बीमारी की एक ही दवा है, डोलो आजकल. So I am no dolo of advice. Right.
Mr. Joshi, would you like to come in? Mr. Harish Joshi?
Yes, sir. Namaste. Good evening. I am Harish Joshi. I am an independent director in Engineers India Limited. Sir,
In Engineers India.
Engineers India, EIL.
Yeah, one more director I know there.
Yeah. Sir, you have mentioned about I am also heading the audit committee, right? I have two very precise questions. One is कि आपने जैसे बताया कि independent directors meeting बहुत important रहती है, but हमें बताया गया कि schedule 4 code of the independent directors जिसमें ये लिखा गया है कि only you have to assess the quality and quantity and timelines of the flow of information between the company management and the board. That is necessary. उसके अलावा we are not authorized to evaluate the board members, how they are performing, right? Even review of the performance of the non-independent directors हमारे purview में नहीं है. तो हम क्या करें? ये मीटिंग का कोई पर्पस है? और दूसरा
I like the हम क्या करें. आप सबसे पहले तो ये helplessness को हटाइए. This is called learned helplessness. इस हेल्पलेसनेस को हटाइए आप सबसे पहले तो.
ठीक है, ठीक है.
The fact that you are on a public sector, a good company,
यस.
इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर, हर एक आदमी को सबसे पहले तो सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस ये होना चाहिए कि आई कैन डू समथिंग.
यस.
बट हमारी प्रॉब्लम क्या है? वी वांट टू मूव द माउंटेन्स. हमारी ये प्रॉब्लम है. वी वांट टू चेंज द वर्ल्ड, वी वांट टू मूव द माउंटेन. ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन 50-60 साल पुराने हैं. इनमें इतना कोलेस्ट्रॉल भरा हुआ है ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में कि इतना बड़ा कोलेस्ट्रॉल के लिए आपको ट्रांसफॉर्मेशनल बाईपास सर्जरी करनी पड़ेगी.
वेरी ट्रू. दैट्स व्हाट वी हैव इनिशिएटेड.
बट आप लोग ये सोचेंगे तो लगता है बाईपास सर्जरी आपकी हो जाएगी.
नो, यस सर, वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सर, आपने जो बताया. तो इवन वी हैव टेकन दिस
फर्स्ट थिंग ये है, जो भी आपका स्पेशलाइजेशन है, आप क्या हैं? चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हैं, क्या हैं, क्या नहीं है?
नहीं सर, आई एम अ साइंस ग्रेजुएट.
साइंस ग्रेजुएट, व्हाटएवर.
एंड आई हैव माय
तो
ओन इंडस्ट्री, सो आई अंडरस्टैंड.
आप पहले ये डिसाइड करिए कि कौन सी डोमेन है जिसमें आप कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं. देखिए, एक चीज मैं आपको बता दूं, हर डोमेन में हर आदमी कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं कर सकता अनलेस ही इज रियली ए जीनियस.
करेक्ट, राइट, राइट सर.
अपनी डोमेन डिसाइड करें कि भाई इसमें मैं थोड़ा सा इंटरेस्ट लेके और उसको स्टडी करिए. 6 महीने आप व्रत रखिए, बोर्ड में पट्टी लगा के रखिए कि मुझे कम बोलना है और ज्यादा सुनना है और समझना है या क्या होता है, हाउ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन रन्स. हम पहले ही दिन से कंपटीशन में लग जाते हैं कि जरा देखें हमारी भी प्रेजेंस जाहिर हो, हम भी बोलना चालू करें. आई टेल यू, आई एम मोस्ट स्केयर्ड ऑफ पीपल हु डोंट टॉक बिकॉज दे आर मोस्ट सीरियस पीपल.
करेक्ट.
आई एम स्केयर्ड ऑफ पीपल जो बड़बड़िए होते हैं, बहुत बोलते हैं. उनको 2 मिनट में चुप करना सबसे आसान होता है.
सर, एक मेरा दूसरा क्वेश्चन है कि देयर इज अ डीपीई गाइडलाइन कि आप इन्वेस्टमेंट की कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट में अगर आप इन्वेस्ट
मुझे
करना.
यार आवाज सुनाई नहीं आ रही है अच्छी तरह आपकी.
या अभी सर सुनाई दे रही है?
देखिए, ट्राई करिए.
हाँ सर, माय क्वेश्चन इज दैट डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पब्लिक एंटरप्राइज हैविंग अ गाइडलाइन कि आप इन्वेस्टमेंट 30% मैक्सिमम आपकी नेटवर्थ का कर सकते हैं. You can invest 30% of your network. That is a maximum limit.
काय में?
हाँ, DPE की गाइडलाइन है. Now,
No, you can invest 30% in what?
30%, maximum 30% in any of the subsidiary or a shareholding or a
अरे यार, ये टेक्निकल क्वेश्चन का समय नहीं है भाई. ये टेक्निकल क्वेश्चन के समय नहीं है. वी आर टेकिंग टाइम ऑफ अदर्स. लेट पीपल आस्क सम स्ट्रेटेजिक क्वेश्चन. अभी इसके लिए आई कैन नॉट, आई डोंट थिंक, बिकॉज आई डोंट नो व्हाट इज गवर्नमेंट गाइडलाइन, व्हाट इज अबाउट. अब हाँ, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ क्वेश्चन स्टिल. प्लीज, आई एम सॉरी, आई हैव टू स्टॉप यू, बट देन यू कैन गेट इन टच विद मी एंड देन वी कैन डिस्कस. ओके, राइट. यस प्लीज, यस प्लीज. No last question?
Sir, this is Sudha Ravi, and sorry I couldn't get through to you earlier. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear
I
you.
can hear you.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So my question was more on board evaluation, which was introduced. Board evaluation. You know, evaluation of the board director.
Oh yeah. I even answered obliquely. Yes.
Yeah. But
देखिए, बोर्ड, पहले तो ये किस बोर्ड पे हैं आप?
I am on 2 listed companies. And
लिस्टेड कंपनी, वहां पे बोर्ड इवेल्युएशन होता है. इज देयर अ सिस्टम?
Yes, sir. We do have a system. We do have board evaluation individually, and we do.
देखिए, राइट नाउ बोर्ड इवेल्युएशन इज जस्ट ए बंकम. नथिंग हैपेंस इन दैट. आई एम वेरी सॉरी टू टेल यू, आई एम यूजिंग हार्श वर्ड्स बिकॉज कहीं कुछ नहीं होता है बोर्ड इवेल्युएशन पे. म्यूचुअल स्क्रैचिंग ऑफ बैक होती है. सब एक दूसरे के लिए अच्छा लिखते हैं. लिव विद दिस wretched system for the time being. My practical advice would be this.
Okay. The other question.
No point. If you say ex director, हाँ, कोई एक्सट्रीम चीज है You can definitely write. जैसे मैंने लिखा कि भाई आदमी तो बोलता ही नहीं है. He doesn't speak. कोई extreme चीज है, but then if you evaluate that he makes idiotic points, I don't think that will, even if he's making idiotic points, you can privately tell. But then government board में तो government भेजती है, तो आप क्या करोगे?
Yes, exactly.
Some of these problems are manufacturing defects हैं साहब कई जगह तो. आप क्या करोगे?
Sir, my other question was, you mentioned about transformation framework, creating a transformation framework in your talk as you were talking. So
अभी कौन बोल रहा है? Are you speaking?
I am, sir.
But I can't see lip movement right now. It's fixed.
No,
Okay.
probably it is.
Yeah, it's fixed. Yeah, now I can see. Yeah.
You had talked about transformation framework. I just wanted to know what do you envisage as the role of independent directors in the transformation framework?
Oh, amazing. I need another session of minimum 1.5 hours. So
Okay.
I would suggest as a replacement, read
Yeah.
my book.
I have. Yeah.
And there is a chapter on taking the board on board. Let me tell you, some of our independent directors made significant contribution. It depends on the CEO how much he wants to engage the independent directors. And I have found most independent directors want to contribute. Most independent directors want to learn. Most independent directors get passionate about transformation.
That's true.
But their level of engagement depends on the level of seeking by the CEO.
Yeah, exactly.
And therefore, it is a leadership issue for the CEO. I am very proud to say that much of the things we could achieve because our directors were passionate about this. But you can play a tremendous role. And for example, if you bring a certain degree of specialization, let us say technology, human resource, marketing, contribute, start speaking about it, talk to people, देखिए ये एक आर्ट है, हमें कोई एंगेज नहीं करता है, ये मिथ है, हम एंगेज होते हैं, we get engaged. Nobody engages anyone. You have to create condition that you are engaged. सोचिए इस बारे में, मैंने जो बात कही है, सोचिए इस बारे में.
Sure, definitely, sir. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe, sir, this is a time we should close. We have much exceeded with the time.
Now, this is not, physical. Otherwise, all of us have earned our cup of tea. Neither
Yes.
so it is postponed for some physical meeting. Okay.
Yes,
But
Sure,
I am
sure.
telling you on my part, I have addressed so many groups on this virtual and this, which frankly speaking, I don't enjoy. But today, believe me, you have kept me continuously engaged. It was the level of your questions, the quality of your questions, your level of engagement, your dilemmas I could read on your faces, your emotional state I could see, your confusions, your ambiguities, everything I could see and became a part of it. So thank you very much. We are proud. The country's future is very good with the kind of independent directors today we have. I loved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the entire group and from the
नीरज भाई
institution,
हमको एक
I
इसकी
would like to
फोटो
thank
भिजवा
you.
दीजिएगा.
Sure, sir. We'll send just one small announcement in the
हाँ.
interest of all because I could see more than 175 have dropped. So just something I wanted to share from my side. There are presently, I know, sir has pointed out that we have significant appetite and hunger to serve one or two boards and begin with this journey, specifically those who have not yet started. So it's a patient process and we need to be diligent about choosing a company,
Yes.
which company to join
Yes.
before landing up into some real-time crisis or acting as a person who is tagged as independent director but not contributory. So both these situations are quite a big risk. There are institutions, friends, I would like to mention, just for your information, who are misleading, the professionals by saying, by attracting them, towards 6 or 7 crore rupees as side income they can earn by becoming an independent director. If they opt for a 1.5 lakh or 2.5 lakh rupees course, and I feel it very bad personally when I find some of the learned person joining them with this false representations, because they are also assuring them a board seat. I don't know how they will do it. They don't have any legacy or track record or engagements with the companies. There is a due process. So if you, and the most notorious thing which they are doing is they are posing themselves as a representative of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs in
Is
delivering
it?
such certification programs. Yeah. So we are taking appropriate legal action against the institution. I don't want to
You
name
are
it.
just at the
I'm sure.
right place, my dear. You are just at the right place.
Yeah. So decision is yours, but what I want to warn you about, nobody can assure you a board seat, not even Korn Ferry or Egon Zender or
And
Russell
they'll make you
Reynolds.
part of a fraud, I tell you.
Yes. So please be aware with this. This is a slight caution. And I would like to thank Dr. Khandelwal for such a insightful talk, mixed with insights, experiences, stories, jokes, whatnot. So he has brought in all sort of learnings from 360 learnings in this
Don't say it's a Bombay
conversation.
Masala movie, you know.
I was refraining myself using the word masala, but because you hail from Mumbai, probably you said it right. So, and thanks to all 400 colleagues who could make it to join and spending. Rather, it was not spending an investment of 2 hours. We started at almost 10 minutes past 4, and it's going to be 6. So thank you so much. We'll soon come up with the
Last
next
thing,
dialogue or talk.
last thing I would like to say, if you are really, really serious on leadership, governance, and transformation, please read my book, Dare to Lead.
Of course, I have a
Normally,
copy, sir.
I would have avoided saying that, please do this. And if you find
I
it
have
has
a
been,
copy and I'm reading it. That's right.
I request,
So,
and also not only that, read other good books. Please develop a habit of reading, I am telling you. Start with this if you don't have. Thank you.
okay, thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Khandelwal, once again. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.